I've had therapists tell me, like, the past is in the past, so why it just shouldn't be bothering me anymore. I'm like, yeah, what am I still doing on your couch, man? So what I'm all about is like going deeper. We need to understand, first of all, what's happening, and then we have to address it directly at the root. So the way that I work is with eye movements. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of EMDR or accelerated resolution therapy.
Never.
But yeah, a lot of people
Never.
haven't. EMDR is the most heavily researched therapy on PTSD ever, and it uses eye movement. So if you're doing it virtually or with my AI coach, there's a ball that goes across the screen. If they're in person, I use my hand, but I have this program that I do. What basically happens is it's like hypnosis, but there's no trance and you're totally alert and awake and everything. Like you might have heard, there's a lot of misconceptions about hypnosis, but you can have a real deep shift, and then you just see things differently and you act differently, and you don't have to work at it or practice it. So with these eye movements, this EMDR started as a therapy for PTSD, and that's how I learned it. And then I realized that with day trading, it's all, in my opinion, like a question of your adrenaline.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Piggo's Trading Desk, where we share our financial journey from the perspective of the American working man, because that's who we are. I'm Derek.
I'm Tony.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we got our brother David Bonnano joining us for the first time. David, hopefully I said that, brother. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Great to be here, you guys.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Can we start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself and about what you do, about the mindset trader?
Right,
mindset?
yeah. I was really happy to see how much psychology is involved in day trading. I've been a PTSD expert for most of my career. I've been in the field since 1993. And with PTSD, I found that it's really all about adrenaline. And if you look up PTSD, there's no definition. It's just a list of symptoms. So what I really believe that it is when your adrenaline takes over, which could be anything like fear or excitement or anger or anything, then your logical brain goes offline. So for me, I always wondered, like, why do smart people do stupid shit? It just didn't really make sense. Like, I've spent half my career trying to figure that out. And then I realized that it's because of this. When you're triggered or threatened or stressed out, you're just not going to be as logical as you want to be, and you're going to be more emotional. So when it comes to traders, I specialize in that moment of when you know what you should do. You have your rules, you got your list right in front of you, and I just want to click. I just want to pull the trigger on something, and you talk yourself into it. But my whole theory and what I'm all about is how can we regulate our adrenaline before we get to that point where you're battling yourself? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So how would you do that? How would you regulate yourself before battling yourself, like in a trade or something like that? Because we have friends that we talk with that we give them advice, so they actually call us for advice. And sometimes feels like it's being done to go against what we say because they don't like what we say and they have this fear of missing out or some other reason as to why they want to stay in the stock when they should be getting out.
Yeah. So much of the mindset advice that you get, maybe even pretty much all of it, and the mindset advice that you give too, is cognitive. You're trying to change your thoughts, and that can definitely work, but it's not the answer to everything, because like, even if somebody really does 100% buy into what you're saying intellectually, if you're telling somebody who's full of adrenaline that they need to calm down, that's like telling somebody who's full of alcohol that they need to be sober. Like, it just doesn't quite work that way. And I think people don't even really see themselves as understanding this whole dynamic between adrenaline and logic. You do have to care about what you're doing, otherwise you're not going to do a good job. But if you care too much, or if you can't handle losses and you feel shitty, or if, like you said, like FOMO, like you're seeing all this other stuff going on, or you just want to make sure you don't miss out on that one deal that's going to... People, I think, they read too much into stuff. They put pressure on themselves. They think one trade is like going to define whether or not they're a successful person or a good person or a smart person. And pressure just adds so much adrenaline to the whole thing. So what I do with my clients is we try to get underneath what's really going on there. And it's not like therapy, where let's just talk for the next 7 years and blame our parents for everything. It's really, let's try to get to what's actually really going on for you subconsciously and consciously at that moment where you feel like not following your rules. So I also work with a bunch of mentors who are frustrated because, like you said, like you have good advice, you care about the people, they care about themselves. Everybody wants things to go the way that they should go, and yet they can't right at the moment. Isn't that like crazy making?
Yeah, definitely is.
So do you think greed is a symptom of the adrenaline, like the whole greed and fear trade? Do you think that's symptomatic of the adrenaline coursing through them that like pretty much makes them illogical?
Yeah, I have to say so. If you think about it, most of the time, greed is some type of anxiety. I want my dreams now. And you're afraid, you don't trust that it's going to happen over time. So you have this anxiety that, like, I know it's going to happen. I know I should play the long game, but I just want it right now. And then that elevates your adrenaline, adds to any other reasons that you have adrenaline. And then you just do what you know you shouldn't do. Or, of course, people can overestimate themselves and they infer too much from the outcomes of the market as to their own actions. Whereas I'm sure you guys preach all the time that it's all about probabilities and you can never really know what happens in any given trade. So like if somebody is having some success and then excitement really does add to adrenaline too, like the physiological response of excitement is very similar to that of fear. So a lot of times when we are actually a combination of excited and fearful, we attribute it to being anxious or afraid, but it's both. So what I'm getting at is, yeah, there's a couple different ways that greed works, but I would say that for the most part, yeah, you're just offline and you can justify anything to yourself, right? One of the things I've learned over the years is how people can use self-denial so much. Like one example is like an alcoholic who's like, all right, this is my last drink. And they really believe it. And then 10 minutes later, it's their last drink. So I think with trading too, we can talk ourselves into anything. And then once you get into that state of mind where you're like, should I or shouldn't I? Just being in that state is unpleasant. So the way to get out of it is to just fuck it. I'm going to click. And then you're in trouble again and you regret it again.
A lot of it has to do with like echo chambers, right? Because we're like amongst people that have the same ideas as us. If we're amongst like Bitcoin people, we think Bitcoin's the best thing. If we're amongst silver and gold people, we think silver's the best thing. When really they both have their risks, but we don't want to realize the risk. So do you think that's a lot of it, the people that we're around?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. And you know what? That's one of the reasons that I want to work with day traders, because when you say like, when people say you are who you associate with, I've been associating with the most damaged people in society for decades now. I want to talk to some friggin' traders who want to be successful and make some money. But I think to your point, Tony, people, they think they want information and maybe they even consciously want information, but what they really end up biting on is affirmation. So if you have, like you said, if you feel like crypto is the best, you have all your reasons for doing so. And what's unfortunate and what's pretty crazy to me, it's still very interesting after all these years, is how we just shut out data that doesn't support what we think. And we notice everything that could possibly support it. I always say that the brain sacrifices accuracy for certainty. We just automatically want to feel like we understand how the world works and how we work.
Yeah. We actually just wrote an article called The Art of Selling Bullshit, and it's pretty much selling the bull narrative. No one talks about the bear narrative at all because that would like diminish fees and all this other stuff for the banks and like people who like help manage, right? So nobody ever talks about the bear side. But as a trader, like I do momentum trading. So I trade where the momentum is. And I look for opportunity in undervalued assets. Like today I'm red on Oscar. I bought Oscar, but that's okay. It's undervalued. It'll recover at some point. But nobody ever wants to really discuss the critical points where we look for value and we rotate into the value areas instead of chasing nosebleeds because the mania or the frenzy everybody's in overwhelms us and makes us make poor decisions.
Yeah, totally, man. And if you're talking about bear markets and just negative stuff, then people aren't going to listen to you. And I want to highlight how this is not a conscious process. If you're listening to watching a podcast or whatever, and then the person's giving you news that you don't really want to hear or bad news, you're not going to get that adrenaline of excitement. You're going to find yourself not paying attention. First of all, it's just going to happen. And then you probably are going to switch to something else. And yeah, I think it really I'd like to read that article that you guys wrote for sure. If you could maybe email me, that'd be good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So can you tell us about the impulse and discipline trader and how to train that?
Yeah, my book is called The Consistently Calm Trader, like master the war between discipline and impulse, because that's what I'm all about, is that moment right where the rubber hits the road. Like, I just get a little bit frustrated with all the mindset people out there who have simple advice, and they're just like, oh, just think your way into success, or just try to hey, how about if you make some rules that will help you to follow your rules? Just like the same stuff over and over. And one of the reasons it really bugs me is because as somebody who has PTSD and I've had my challenges throughout my life. And when people would tell me, like, why don't you just calm down, or why don't you just do what's good for yourself? I'm like, yeah, no shit. I've had therapists tell me, like, the past is in the past, so it just shouldn't be bothering you anymore. I'm like, yeah, what am I still doing on your couch, man? So what I'm all about is like going deeper. We need to understand, first of all, what's happening, and then we have to address it directly at the root. So the way that I work is with eye movements. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of EMDR or accelerated resolution therapy.
Never.
But yeah, a lot of people haven't. EMDR is the most heavily researched therapy on PTSD ever, and it uses eye movement. So if you're doing it virtually or with my AI coach, there's a ball that goes across the screen. If they're in person, I use my hand, but I have this program that I do. What basically happens is it's like hypnosis, but there's no trance and you're totally alert and awake and everything. Like you might have heard, there's a lot of misconceptions about hypnosis, but you can have a real deep shift, and then you just see things differently and you act differently, and you don't have to work at it or practice it. So with these eye movements, this EMDR started as a therapy for PTSD, and that's how I learned it. And then I realized that with day trading, it's all, in my opinion, like a question of your adrenaline. So this really can dial down your nervous system much better than just deciding to do it. When our body's giving us a signal, like you feel this tension inside, or you just want to do something, or you get angry and you just want to start clicking and being self-destructive, what this does is it really helps you dial down. We only have so much willpower. We might tell ourselves, I'm strong enough to be able to ignore the signals that my body's given me. But if you think about it, like throughout evolution, these signals are designed to be impossible to ignore. And so if you're relying on willpower and that doesn't work for you, then a lot of times people think, geez, I'm a weak person, or there's something wrong with me. And then because you're upset with yourself, you're making things worse. You're making things so that you're a lot more likely to make mistakes in the future. I hope I'm getting off track too much, but when you said, like, how do you really... Oh, okay. All right, good. So yeah, I use eye movements to help people to see what's going on subconsciously. I'll just give you an example. I had this guy, his name was Tony, but he would just get angry, and he was thinking too globally. And what I mean by that is he didn't see each trade as its specific event. He would think, if he lost a trade, for example, he's like, shit, I'm never going to retire. I'm not going to be able to travel with my wife. I can't pay for my kids' school. Oh my God, that's so much pressure right there. And that's going to make it so that his logical brain is going to go offline to some extent. So I had him move his eyes, and instead of doing more intellectualization, which he'd been doing himself and with his friends, and he expected me to be intellectualizing with him as well, I had him think of a metaphor that really captured what did it feel like when he lost a trade. And so there's this leprechaun that just like talks in my ear and it tells me, you can do it. Like you can make one more trade, or like the markets, you got to be revengeful. And when you're using metaphors, it's getting you out of your logical brain and you're using your subconscious mind. And you guys know, like when you have a dream, like that's all like images and symbols and different like emotions. And then you wake up and your logical brain says, oh, that was weird. But if you can be able to interface directly with that part of the brain, then you're going to have huge shifts. So what he did was he talking to this leprechaun while his eyes are moving, and it seems funny, but it actually, he was laughing, and that's good because when you're laughing, that's the opposite of being stressed out or terrified. He was able to tell the leprechaun, like, okay, I'm not trying to kill you or get rid of you. Like, I do listen to you, but you don't have to be yelling in my ear all the time. And he identified another character, which is Abraham Lincoln, for whatever reason. Abraham Lincoln for him was like the voice of reason and wisdom. And so then when he would find himself in that moment of, I just want to do this, then he would let these things play out. And more often than not, he'd go with Abraham Lincoln and he'd be like, okay, I hear you, but I'm just not going to act on that. So we didn't try to get him to a place where he felt ashamed or I really got to try so hard to have discipline, because I don't mean to be disparaging anybody, but that's what it comes down to. Like, you read all this mindset advice, but what it really comes down to is you got to try super hard. And if you can't, then you got to try really fucking hard. And so anyway, we got it to a point where he felt like, I can do whatever I want. I can click it if I want to, but he didn't want to. And that is, of course, where you got to be. So I hope that gives you some idea of what happens.
So it's basically like shadow work, like just reaching, like looking within inside and just like reflecting on yourself and seeing the problems. Basically, it's what it is, shadow work.
Yeah, I like that, shadow work. And I try to do that with myself. If you can do it with the eye movements, it makes it so much more effective, and you can have breakthroughs pretty reliably.
You have to get into like meditative state or no?
That's a good question. It's a little different because if you look at brain scans, like it's a different pattern, but it is like that. The way I like to think of it is your logical brain just gets out of the way. And then I'll give you another example. I had this guy who he lost $700,000. He made a lot in the beginning of his career. It was like he didn't know what he didn't know. And then when he started to learn more stuff and experiment with other systems, and then he put pressure on himself because that became his identity. I need to be successful. So over 6 months, he lost that much money. And that was traumatic for him. So every time he traded after that, he's feeling, oh my God, I hope this doesn't happen again. And it really did cloud his judgment. So what I did with him is I had him move his eyes and then remember what happened, but he didn't have to talk about it because you don't have to verbalize it or anything. And then we had him rewrite the story while his eyes were moving. And so he wrote it into that. It was like he went to school and he paid tuition to a college, and now he doesn't have to pay tuition anymore. And then after that, he's really been killing that. He's been doing great. You have to have this deep shift, and you can do it sometimes. If you have an aha moment, like if you're resonating with something somebody says, you're going to have an aha moment. You're going to feel it in your heart. But what this does with the eye movements is just happens so often that it's really incredible. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't know about it. They don't know what to make of it. Half the people listening right now probably have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. But if you try it, it's incredible. I have this ChatGPT coach that is a mindset coach, and it's a lot of people you may have met already use ChatGPT just to reflect on what's going on or for it to notice patterns. So this is better because it's trained in everything I've ever written or spoken about, but also it does the eye movements. And so if you ever go to my website or anything, you can try it out for free and you can see if it really works for you or not. And you'll know, it feels great. It feels different.
Yeah, somebody who deals with people every day in the market, like, has to talk about this. If they see any red, they lock up and they freeze. And I always talk about reflecting and just breathing and sitting through it, because at the end of the day, we're not marked by our wins and losses. We're marked by our effort to chase excellence every day. And that's what it is.
I agree with you 100% for sure. And when you're having people breathe like that, then that's dialing down the nervous system and you're deactivating the sympathetic nervous system. You're activating the parasympathetic nervous system so that you're not in this fight or flight. And it's not just fight or flight, it's fight, flight, or freeze. So like you're talking about, like when you freeze, like that's definitely part of what's going on there. I agree with you 100%. It's just that, can you get your people to actually do it? That's another thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. It's difficult to get them frozen, and out of work is not easy. Like your device sounds incredible. We're gonna have to beta test it, give feedback on it. Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm on your
Oh
website
yeah,
right now.
I love that, you guys. Yeah, I'm always looking for positive feedback, but also negative feedback for sure. And I can't say it's for absolutely everybody. Like sometimes people they have trouble like getting into their creative mind. Like if you ask them to think about a metaphor, like they can't necessarily do that. I think the people who do that who have that problem are real compartmentalizers, like people who have to shove their feelings down. Like one example is for like first responders, like they can't be feeling everything all the time. So they end up getting really accomplished at pushing stuff down, but then they can't access their emotions or their subconscious. So it's not for everybody, but anybody I work with personally, I want them to try that first to make sure that they're going to have the results that they need. Yeah, I'd love for you guys to check it out.
And that's on the maxdiscipline.com, right? Or is it on the other one?
Yeah, that's right. So maxdiscipline.com is where my stuff is, and you can try the coach and you can find out more about working with me. And I really do love working with trainers. It's funny to me, like it's just all psychology. Like, and what's funny to me is how, let's say your spouse or your family, they're telling you like, you need to make these changes in your life, and then you can put them off. But when the market starts revealing your character flaws, then people are like, oh shit, I got to do something about this. Like that, it just totally motivates people to be better people. And I like seeing that happen.
Yeah, the markets, they're a challenge, especially right now. I would assume the market psychology right now with all the volatility, the morale is probably pretty hard on a lot of people, and they would definitely need your service because with volatility, that brings a lot of change and opportunity for those who can see it. But for the untrained, they're going to start panicking, and then they're going to have marital problems. We know somebody who's going through a divorce because of Bitcoin right now. So then the underlying issues start to reveal themselves, as you were saying.
Yeah, good luck to that person. I hope it goes well. But you're right. It's such a test of your emotional health, I would have to say. And you know what? If I could just give another tip to your listeners, it's so hard to accept losses for a lot of people. And often what they are doing, like cognitively, what they're thinking about is that they're stupid, or like, how could they have made that mistake, or they're not good at this, or they're like, they deserve bad luck, or they're not good people. There's all kinds of thoughts you can have, but it's also like just this feeling it's what I call dirty pain. It's anger or guilt or anything other than sadness. So what I preach to my clients is that you have to be sad when the market doesn't go your way. If you get angry, it's going to increase your adrenaline. But also, if you think about it, you're not accepting reality. You're living in this should have happened, or I should have done that. That's not reality. If you feel guilty, then it's the same thing. Like I should have done this, and I'm a shitty person or whatever. You're not really accepting reality. If you're sad, it doesn't feel good because you have to admit that you were powerless, or even that you're powerless now to do anything back then. But if you can be sad, you can let it go, and you can start over again. So a lot of times with trading, it's not even necessarily doing well. It's not doing bad and not making things worse. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, we definitely would. Well, you think that right now, because of all the chaos going on with like geopolitical stuff and just right here at home with all the ICE stuff, do you think that makes it even more harder for somebody to make decisions like in this time period that we're in right now?
Yeah, like your overall stress contributes to your baseline adrenaline activity. If people are just going through anything in their life, then they're just going to be more likely to get to the part where your logical brain goes offline. So if I often will do an assessment, I'll ask people like 0 to 10, how emotionally distressed do you feel right now? Let's say they say 5, and then the eye movements can really dial that down and help people to get to a place where they can make some big changes. But if you are like having to worry about getting deported or imprisoned or whatever, and yeah, the markets are going crazy and you having trouble paying your mortgage, like, unfortunately, those people are the ones who need to do well because like they have all this pressure, but it's unfair that they're not going to do as well because it's going to throw you off.
Yeah. Sad.
Do you guys ever play golf?
Once in a while.
Yeah.
We haven't done it in a year and a half.
Well, here, just when my swing starts to get good, then I got to take 6 months off for the winter. So that sucks. But what I've realized about golf is it's not about doing good. If you hit a good shot, that feels really good, but that's not going to win you the game in terms of scoring. Golf is about trying to not make mistakes, really, or minimizing your mistakes. And if you get angry, like I do actually, I've thrown clubs, but if you do that, it's really going to take you off. And golf is such a mental thing, just like trading. Trading's all mental, but that's one of the metaphors I use that really can resonate with people because you're just trying to be consistent. You're not trying to hit a home run. If you can hit a single every time, you're going to score a lot of runs.
Yeah, that's something I like with sports. Like when we go play basketball or something, if I start missing, I get pretty pissed off and I get in my head and then I really start missing. So that's something learn how to control that.
That's
Not so easy though.
That's me when I sell too early in a trade. I'll get pissed off and I'm like, man, I should have held on a little longer. Or if I sell too late, like with ERY, I could have made 5%. I left with 2.5%. I'm like, fuck.
Or if we buy in too early, because we've done that too. Bought in way too early.
Yeah. Like people have asked me if AI is going to take over for traders. I don't think so. Excuse me, because we need to go with our gut. Like the AI can't really do that. You have to use your intuition. That's the part that I work with, the subconscious part. And you can't replace that. You have to trust in your intuition. And of course, if you make a decision that doesn't go your way, then you can't have too much of a hit to your ego. But like when it comes to journaling, of course, that's good. That you need to be able to see long-term patterns and you're trying to capture what were you thinking at that time. But unfortunately, you lose a lot because let's say you look like at the end of the session, you're looking back at what you did. You have to try to guess with your logical brain. You have to try to guess what was going on for you consciously and subconsciously. So you're trying to put words to things that don't have words, like feelings. And then as you are looking back, you lose a lot in translation that way as well. So what I'm getting at is if you can use eye movements, like with my AI coach, after a session, you should definitely record everything, the way that people already do. But if you can literally relive what was going on for you at that critical moment, with your eyes moving, you're going to be able to recapture it much more accurately. Then you can see what was happening underneath all of that stuff. And that's where I think the next level of trading is when you can not just see what's on the surface, but what's going on there and how it contributes. And I'm not one of those like touchy-feely analytical people. Like I said, like I don't need to know everything about your backstory and we don't have to blame your parents on everything. But I think it is necessary for anybody in trading and in life to have some kind of self-awareness of what's going on for you.
Yeah.
That's why I became a psychologist, so I could figure out myself. And that has helped, but it can also be bad. One time, before I got married, I was in this really unhealthy relationship. That was a long time ago, but I was driving somewhere and I was like, oh my God, I spent $200,000 on a doctorate and I'm still fucking crazy. So it could be worse if you're a psychologist, but otherwise, I think that for anybody, if you can know more of what your internal motivations are that most people never get in touch with, then you're going to be a more powerful person in whatever you want to do.
Yeah, our goal is to help people. We want to see people be successful in these markets and in these turbulent times. And at the end of the day, all we have is each other. We're going against big fish in a very small pond. So all the little fish got to be together. At least put our differences aside till we get the big fish out of the way. Fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah, that's another thing I really do like, though, Derek, is that it's such an equalizer, right? Anybody can do this and start to be successful. I had a client who was in Rwanda. She was a woman and she didn't have much resources going for her, but she started to really carve out a niche for herself. And she said she didn't have much opportunity to do anything else. But there's people all over the world who are able to achieve levels of success they never thought. And that's so exciting to see. I bet you guys love it when the people that you're mentoring do well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Makes you
Yeah,
feel good.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about helping everyone else out, trying to build each other up instead of bringing each other down, because so many people try to bring you down. So
Yeah, amen,
stop
brother.
that.
And then just want to point out one more thing, if you don't mind. Like, people do try to bring you down, but also when you go on social media and you see these people buying Mercedes and like taking pictures on the balcony of their fucking hotel room, like pretending that they live there, that's another way of putting people down, isn't it? If you compare yourself to other people, which I mean, we all know we shouldn't, but then we all do, then I feel anyway, because I follow traders and influencers and stuff like that. And when they're just like, I don't want to be crude, but they're like masturbating in front on the screen and they're expecting us all to celebrate with them. But what they're really doing is they're saying, I'm better than you and you should pay me money so that I could teach you how to be as good as me. Like, I think that's just another really harmful thing that traders have to face. There's so much noise out there, isn't there, that it's not always easy to just block it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like your terminology, masturbation in front of the screen. I always say it's pulling the dick out of the ass and showing it to them, but that's a good one too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We use vulgarity on this show. We get complaints on it, but people need to grow the fuck up. People cuss in real life. We don't mind.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Dude, that's good.
products is one thing, but actually executing the skill of trading is a different thing. Like, people are always going to say, I can make you rich, but I always say, realistically, we can show you how to get better, but your results are based on your mind and your perception of where things are going to go. It's not up to me. I can't hold your hand.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And yeah, I don't try to push people in a certain direction. I try to create the conditions for them to realize what they have to do and for them to go where they have to go. And then it's just really cool to see because people do things I never would have imagined. And like, just one example, like I had this woman, she got into a car accident and she could not get into her car. And people are showing her statistics of how safe she's probably going to be and like trying to use reason with her. So I had her move her eyes and think about something that was really calming for her. So she's a kayaker. She thought about kayaking. And then now when she drives, that's what she kind of pictures. And it shifted in her. So doesn't have this phobia. And now she calls it her kayak. And I was like, that's the coolest thing. I never could have thought of that. That's awesome. But it was the absolute perfect thing for her.
So it's basically taking her to her happy place, like a Happy Gilmore, right? Take her to a happy place.
Oh, man. I saw you on another episode. You were talking about fast times at Ridgemont High, right?
The Leafs theme.
Yeah. I was talking about fast times at Ridgemont. The girl stays the same age, and I keep getting older.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah. I love that movie. Yeah. I don't know if you guys are movie guys, but yeah, definitely identify with that. Yeah. That's pretty funny.
Actually started my career in screenwriting back when I was a young man, but now I just focus on the markets.
Oh, right on. Yeah. That can be tough too, right? Because like you're getting rejection all the time. You have to somehow keep your morale up and keep trying. And then you can't help but feel like a loser when you're not getting anywhere. And then when you do get somebody to buy your story, then you feel like such a winner. Ideally, you're not attached to the outcomes, but it's so hard not to be, right? Especially when you're talking about money and trading and all that.
Let me tell you the best story I got from screenwriting. I wrote a script and it got picked up by a company. And they were like, oh, we're going to pay you for it. When I got the check, it was a joke. And when I read over the script that they bought for me, they changed every line I had wrote and kept one line. That was mine.
Oh my God. Oh, that must have been crazy. That must have felt surreal. Yeah, that's nuts.
I was pissed. They liked the idea, but they didn't keep any of my words. I was like, man, fuck this. I'm leaving this industry.
Yeah, that's crazy industry. That's for sure.
Can you tell everyone where they can find you and how they can reach out to you about your work and to do that eye test
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
to
So
check it out.
so if you want to check out my book on Amazon, you can see really where I'm coming from, and it's so much psychology in there. I think it's good for anybody. That's called The Consistently Calm Trader: Master the War Between Discipline and Impulse. Or if you go to maxdiscipline.com, then you'll see everything you need. And yeah, I'd love to work with people out there. Just give me a call, and we'll see if we're a good fit, and let's see what happens when we can do together.
Anyway, got anything else, Tony? You got to say?
Nah, thank you, brother. That's interesting. I'm gonna check it out personally, and I'm excited to see what comes out of the AI you've created, because we build AI models too. We tell you about the horse racing model, but I'm excited to check it out, and I will be sending you an email to give you some
Yeah, please.
feedback on what I noticed.
That
we'll
would be
send you
great.
that.
Yeah, let's definitely keep in touch. I'm sorry I called you Tony and you Derek, but
Oh no, you're good.
now I got it.
We'll
Yeah,
send, we'll send you the article too, the one you asked to read. We'll send you that.
yeah, please. Yeah, it's great to meet other good people, and so yeah, we got to stick together.
Definitely. Well, all right, brother. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks for
Dr.
having me.
David.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, guys.
Bye bye. We'd like to give big thanks to Dr. David and for everyone tuning in today. We are so grateful for the chance to share passion and knowledge with you all. It means the world to us. We're excited to bring new content to you, helps you make sense of the market, maybe even conquer them. So stick with us, hit that follow button, let us grow and thrive together. Remember to check out our Substack. We can found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere where podcasts are at. Our Substack. Check us out on Amazon with our books, The Piggo Monte Cristo, The Divided States of America, and The Sovereignty of Nations.
OnlyFans? I'm kidding. And check out Dr. David's work. Try his model. We're going to try it out. We'll have all the links plugged below. And be vigilant in this market. We are going to put together a class to teach technicals. And right now, the technicals are telling me the short-term sell-off may be over and that there may be another leg up. So not investment advice, due diligence.